of Polity and Governance, I would like to start with a quote. Success is not final and failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Keep your dreams alive and strive to turn them into reality, one step at a time. The journey of an IAS aspirant is not just about reaching the destination, but about the growth and learning that happens along the way. Thank you. Now, sir, you can continue.
Thank you, Rohit. Well said. So, in line with what Rohit has said, you made a very important and a very pertinent point. One step at a time. One step at a time. Dear students, what happens here is most of the times you will be thinking about like how should I prepare for this exam the best. You will be in the process of thinking. Instead of that, the most important thing is now. See, if at all, if you think that you're preparing, say, for example, for 2024, how many days you have got? Hardly you have got from 300 days. Means just 300 steps. Take one day at a time. Squeeze it to the maximum. That's the only possible. Like, so welcome to the class once again. And as you're aware, Dia Delhi and Sambhavam project is based on the 4 pillars that you already are aware. And I wish and I hope and I want to give the best possible to make you get first rank. Having said that, let's get started. So let me ask you a question. Can anyone recite the syllabus of UPSC Mains? Can anyone recite the syllabus of UPSC? Very nice. I can see many S's. Don't simply buff. I may ask you. Very nice. See, if the things what you are saying, if it is true, definitely you are far apart above many of the students who might be preparing for last 1 year or 2 years, but they don't know the syllabus. Right? Okay. Okay, let me mute. Okay. Okay, great. So now, in most of the books, one of the most important things which is lagging is the concept of federal system and also separation of powers. In most of the books, they straight away start with a preamble, they straight away start with the president without explaining the concept of federalism and separation of powers, thereby leading to checks and balances. It is not only the problem with you, it was the problem with me also. I was not aware of who exactly is an executive, even after writing my first mains. I repeat, even after writing one mains, UPSC Civil Service, I was not aware as to who is the executive. One of the problem in most of the books is taking the Indian Constitution, Indian polity. So to understand this concept better, we should take, in fact, the American Constitution, where the things relating to the federal structure, the separation of powers are very, very precisely and in a beautiful way they have presented. Almost all the written constitution, I repeat, almost all the written existing constitutions, in some or the other way, they have been directly influenced by American Constitution. So it is very pertinent that we should have a broader understanding of the American Constitution. Having said that, let us start with the American Constitution, thereby explaining you the related things, right? So let me just once again brief you the syllabus very fast. Polity, here you have got 5 subjects. In that 20 units or 20 topics are there. They are constitution, polity, social justice, governance, and international relations. Please don't forget this. Constitution, Indian Constitution. Here you have got historical underpinning, amendment, and basic structure. In polity, you have got federal structure, separation of powers, comparison of constitution, legislatures at the center and also at the state level. After that, you have got executive, judiciary, pressure group, formal and informal organizations, representation of People's Act, constitutional bodies, after the statutory, regulatory, and quasi-judicial bodies. Then coming to social justice, where you have got government policies and intervention for development. Then you have got non-governmental bodies like NGOs and SHGs, donor groups, philanthropies, etc. Then vulnerable sections, for them you have got protection and betterment. Majorly you have got welfare schemes and laws related to vulnerable sections. Then you have got health, education, human resource, poverty, hunger. In the case of governance, you have got governance, transparency, accountability, e-governance, and citizens charter. Role of civil service in democracy, international relations. There you have got India and its neighbors and non-neighbors, grouping and agreements which have effect on India or where India is involved, policies and politics affecting India, Indian diaspora, and international institutions. This is it, dear students. Hope all these things are clear to you. And here, very important, like many of you are asking, sir, which book to read, how to read the newspaper. This will definitely will take all these things. The reason why we are not in a position to satisfy you all is, here the crowd is diverse. There are many people who are preparing for last 4 years or 5 years, they are attending. There are some who are very young, who are in college there. So we'll take the things in a systematic way. Please give us little time, right? So here, with respect to mains, please note down, with respect to mains, the most important area which you have to cover is Supreme Court judgments. Supreme Court judgments. Afterwards, legislature, policies, and acts, bills. Then with respect to the executive, you should be studying the government schemes and programs. With respect to polity and governance, 80% of the questions revolves around these 3. Is this point clear to you? I'll show you the questions also. Right? Is it clear to you? These are the 3 areas where 80% of the questions in mains are coming. So here, now you will be in a position to say whether Laxmikanth book suffice you or not. To overcome this limitation, in fact, in the 7th edition, Laxmikanth Sir has put nearly 100 Supreme Court judgments. Right? Okay. Okay. There was some message. I was reading that. So American Constitution. So you have to begin with American Constitution if you want to understand the federal structure, the separation of powers. Because in India, what we have is the mixture of all these things. It is quasi-federal and it is parliamentary form of government. So quasi-federal means if you study Indian polity, you can't understand the principles of federation. And also you have got parliamentary form of government or PM form, parliamentary form. Here there is no true separation of powers. There is no true separation of powers. Because of that, you won't be having proper understanding. So in a systematic way, I have devised to make the things very clear for you. So now please give due attention. These are very conceptual. Number one, power in modern times is exercised by the state, right? Government is the instrument, the device of the state through which power is exercised, right? This power is divided among three branches, that is legislature, executive, and judiciary. This is known as separation of powers. So here, each are having separate and independent powers. What is the power with respect to legislation? And before that, why this separation of power? Because power corrupts. Misuse of power will be there, always. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if power is concentrated in one person, one body, the misuse of that is very high. To overcome that, power is divided, right? In this, what is the work of legislature? Legislature makes the laws. Makes the laws, that's it. Just like, see, if you have got any doubt from your previous understanding of the things, please hold on. I'll take up all the questions, because now what I find is you are asking the doubts which are outside the things what I'm teaching. Means like for the past 1 year, you had some doubts you are asking now. There are many students who are very new. So I'm taking the things in a very systematic way. Please give due attention here. So laws are made by legislature. So how laws are made? By introducing a bill. By introducing the bill. When the bill gets passed and get the assent of the president, it becomes an act. Right? So this is the work of legislature. Legislature doesn't do anything other than lawmaking. Is this clear to you? Then please answer this question. Can judiciary make laws in normal circumstances? Please do answer this. Can judiciary make laws? Don't go for the exceptions. According to the separation of powers, can judiciary make laws? Okay. Then, in normal circumstances, can executive make laws? In normal circumstances, can executive make laws? In normal circumstances, there are many things like ordinances, regulations. They're different, right? I'm asking in normal circumstances, according to the concept of separation of powers. So these laws, these acts are executed, are implemented by your executive. Whether the executive is implementing the laws and the constitution in accordance with the constitution, in accordance with the laws, is taken care by the judiciary. Right? Let me make this clear to you. So here, constitution. To implement the constitution, Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Legislature makes what is known as laws. These laws are implemented by executive. So in this executive, we have got two kinds of executive. One is political executive and another is permanent executive. Political executive is ministers. Very, very important. If someone is not a minister, then he is not an executive. This is the most important, the fundamental thing. Clear? Just keep this one. Like those of you who are very fresh, new. So who is an executive? Executive means he has to be a minister. Right? So political executive. On the other hand, we have got another kind of executive, that is civil servants. Secretaries, all these people, they are also executive. Right? So for any person to be called an executive, he has to be at least civil servant or a minister. Your MLA, MPs, all these things are not executive. They're legislature. Right? To implement the laws, executive makes within the bounds of the laws what is known as rules. Anything ending with rules is made by the executive. Anything ending with law or act is made by the legislature. Anything said to be like constitution, ultimately made by the people of the country or the representatives of the people. Right? Then with this, let us go one step ahead. With respect to legislature. With respect to legislature, there are two varieties. One is having only one house, and another is having two houses. The one which is having only one house is said to be unicameral. Unicameral. The one which is having two houses in legislature, in lawmaking, it is said to be bicameral. Is it clear to you? Unicameral and bicameral. Say, for example, your upper house, that is Rajya Sabha, and lower house, that is Lok Sabha. Clear to you? This is at the union level. Right? Can you tell me corresponding with respect to states? Corresponding to houses with respect to state? You are already aware. Please repeat. I will repeat. Don't worry. What are the two houses present in state government, state legislature? Okay. Vidhana Sabha, Vidhan Parishad. Very good. So here Vidhana Sabha and Vidhana Parishad. Legislative Assembly, Legislative Council. So Vidhana Parishad is upper house list and Legislative Assembly, that is Vidhana Sabha, is lower house. Is the concept clear to you? Okay. Okay, can you please repeat? Okay, I'll repeat. Legislature makes laws. In legislatures, there are two varieties, two types. One is having only one house. That is said to be unicameral. Unicameral. The other type is having two houses. That is said to be bicameral. The example for this bicameral is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So here, as I told you, to form any law, a bill has to be introduced and this bill has to be passed. So in case of unicameral, only one house, no problem. But in case of two houses, this bill has to be passed by both the houses in normal circumstances. Right? Then coming to the executive. So with respect to executive, and based on the relation between the executive and the legislature, there are two varieties. One is presidential form. One is presidential form. In case of presidential form, executive, very important, executive is independent of legislature. Is independent of legislature. On the other hand, prime minister form or parliamentary form. So this presidential form we can see in USA, United States. PM, prime minister form or parliamentary form. Here, your executive is dependent on the legislature. For anybody to be an executive, he has to be a legislature. So all ministers here are legislatures. Means if someone wants to be a minister, first he has to become a MLA or MP. Clear? Any doubt till here? So if you have this clarity, then you can answer most of the questions in mains. Okay, somebody is asking to repeat. So I won't be repeating afterwards. Since these are the beginning sessions, I'll be. So I repeat once again for those of you who have asked. Based on the relation between the executive and the legislature, very important. What is the basis? This is based on the relation between the executive and legislature. Number one type, presidential form of government. Example, United States of America, where executive is independent. Means executive is not dependent on legislature. See the Venn diagram. On the other hand, in parliamentary form or prime minister form, the second variety, the diagram is important. Your executive is dependent on the legislature, or executive is, to be precise in the political science language, responsible. He is responsible to the legislature. Okay. Then once again, federal structure. What is this federal structure? If Constitution gives two governments, if Constitution gives rise to two governments, that is government 1 and government 2, this is said to be federal. Is this clear to you? On the other hand, if Constitution gives powers to only one government, it is said to be unitary. Example, UK. Federal structure, the classic example is USA, United States of America. Here, one government is not dependent on the another. One government, say government consists of 3 organs. So here too you have got legislature, executive, and judiciary. And this is entirely different. And here, with respect to states, please don't compare to India because we don't have classic federal features. We have got what is known as quasi-federal. So please keep those things out of your mind. Right? Another is the state, where the state also has legislature, the state also has executive, the state also has judiciary. These are important. Is it clear? And very important thing is these are independent of one another. So when you imagine state government, you should imagine them as separate entities, not one within the another. Then let me ask you a question. West Bengal, Hamara Mamata Behenji. So is the government of West Bengal dependent on the central government? Is it dependent on the central government? No. The power given to the West Bengal government or the Karnataka government or any other state is directly given by constitution, not Modi government. Right? Okay, let me wind up the things by taking another important diagram here. Right? Legislature. What does this make? It makes the laws. Who implement this? This is implemented by executive. Who sees whether these laws are in line with the constitution or not? Your judiciary. Who sees whether the executive is doing his work within the bounds of law and within the bounds of constitution? That is judiciary. Right? Okay. Having said this, let's get started with the American Constitution. So if you want to study any subject, first of all, you should go through the syllabus. Afterwards, you should go through the previous year questions. Very, very important. This is for mains and also for prelims. If you are not doing this, you will be just reading what others have given you. You won't be analyzing as to why we are reading this, how the questions will come. So to begin with, please take the mains questions. Prelims questions are pretty easy. As I told you, polity is one of the easiest to score because everything is based on the constitution. Nothing can go out of the constitution. So now let me ask you a question. What are the 3 important areas from where the questions are coming in mains? The areas from which questions are coming, 3 important areas in mains. I have already told you this. Let me see whether you are alert or not. In mains, I am asking you. See, many of you are not alert. See, once again, that's a vague thing. Current affairs, everything is current. Yesterday, what happened? In fact, that was current then. Right? So I repeat, in mains, more than 80% of the questions with respect to polity and governance are coming from these 3 areas. Number 1, with respect to Supreme Court judgments, Supreme Court interpretations, that too latest. Number two, your legislature. What does this person do? Legislature, he makes laws, any act, any new laws, or any bills, any bill. Then all these things will be implemented by your executive. So executive comes up with government programs and schemes. So these are the three important things from which more than 80% of the questions in mains have come. Right? So by now, you will be knowing, sir, this is my first session. Is this affect what you covered? Okay, I didn't get the question. I just was reading a message. Right? So let us see some of the questions here. Right? Now, so here, as I told you, in the past 10 years, 10 years means from 2013 till 2022, every year you have got 20 questions. So 10 year into 20. So in GS2, there are 200 questions. In these 200 questions, only 5 questions have come. 5 questions have come. That two with respect to USA, 1 with respect to UK, and 2 with respect to France in comparison. That's it. So please give due attention. Very simple question. Analyze the distinctive features of the notion of equality in the constitutions of USA and India. So here, the concept of equality, which is present in the constitution of USA and India, they are asking what is the distinction. So here, hint, Bill of Rights. The equivalent of Bill of Rights in India is fundamental rights. So they are asking about this, right? Next question. So here we won't be discussing. First, we will see like how the questions are being asked. India and USA are two large democracies. Examine the basic tenets on which the two political systems are based. So two basic tenets of the two political systems. So here in brief, we have already discussed. Let me tell you here. So USA, here it is classic federal system. Classic federal system. India, it is quasi-federal system. Quasi-federal system. In USA, you have got presidential form of government. In India, you have got prime minister or parliamentary form of government. In USA, you have got separate judiciary, means federal courts and also the courts relating to the states. So these are independent, different. But in India, there is only one judiciary. One judiciary. Let me explain you this here. So in federation, as I told you, there will be two governments. Government 1 and government 2. Here you have got legislature, executive, and judiciary. Here too, you have got legislature, executive. But in case of India, there is only one judiciary. Is the point clear to you? In USA, you have got two judicial systems. One for federal laws or federal subjects and another for state subjects. In India, we have got only one judicial system. So one of the main reasons why we say it is quasi-federal. Is this clear to you? Any doubt with respect to this? Integrated judiciary, very good. No, like I am not going in depth, I'm just giving you Please repeat. Okay. Okay, I'll repeat it. Please listen to me. As I told you, federation means two governments. Two governments means legislature, executive, and judiciary. Here too, you have to have like legislature, executive, and judiciary, which are separate. But this is what is present in USA. But in India, we have got only one judiciary. There is no separate judiciary for states, separate judiciary for center, right? Okay. If you write this, like you will get maximum. Next, with respect to UK, what they have asked. The judicial system in India and UK seems to be converging as well as diverging. So what is converging means? They have got some things common, and diverging, there is something different. In recent times, highlight the key points of convergence and divergence between the two nations in terms of judicial practices. In terms of judicial practices. So this becomes a very technical one, but I'll just give you one important thing. See here, in case of UK, legislation or legislative organ is supreme. Very, very important. Legislature is supreme. It is not equal to your executive or judiciary. Is my point clear to you? In United Kingdom, legislature is supreme. Legislature is the boss. Lawmaker is the boss. But in India, in UK, in federal form of government, generally, they are said to be co-equal. Co-equal means executive is equal to legislature is equal to judiciary. This equation doesn't hold good with respect to UK. We'll discuss this in detail later. Coming to the France one, here, critically examine the procedures through which the presidents of India and France are elected. So these two procedures are entirely different. In fact, say for example, if you take USA, you have got presidential form. If you take UK, you have got prime minister form. There is one form which comes in between, means it has got the feature of the both, that is France. We'll discuss this later. Next, what can France learn from the Indian Constitution's approach to secularism? So here we have got positive secularism. Means state doesn't discriminate with respect to religion. On the other hand, in France, what is said to be the Western concept of secularism? That is, there is separation of religion from the government. So government is no way concerned with the religious things. Okay. So these are very, very briefly, I'm saying these things. Okay. These are the questions. So now you have got an idea. Did you get an idea? Like how UPSC is asking questions with respect to Unit 4, that is comparison of constitutions. So here, very important, don't go in depth. There is no need to master the constitutions of the countries. And another most important thing is they're asking questions in relation to current affairs, if it is in news. Right? So I repeat, with respect to this, out of the 200 questions what we had till date, there have been only 5 questions in the last 10 years. And these questions are current related. Number one, and these are very apparent, very basic. Basic. There is no need for you to do PhD. That's it. Okay. American Constitution. formed in 1787. So how to remember this? 786 is the holiest number for Mohammedans. So one number, just add 1, 7, 8, 7. So following the American Revolution, Constitution was adopted in 1787 at Philadelphia Convention and came into force in 1789. So adopted in 87, came to force in 89 after 2 years. Right? American Revolution, please remember this date, very important. American Revolution, Russian Revolution, French Revolution, very important. You should be having some idea with respect to the dates. Right? Okay. Very important, as I told you, it is the written constitution. It is a classic example of written constitution. Almost all the constitutions written after this have taken immensely from the American Constitution, maybe with respect to preamble or any other component. It is the oldest among the existing written constitution. It is the oldest among the existing written constitutions. And it is just 12 pages. And in that, you have got only 7 articles. How easy it is to remember? Just 7 articles. So all these things have taken a lot of pain with respect to to make the things very clear to you. So only 7 articles and only 27 amendments. Right? 7 articles, 27 amendments. There is a preamble. In fact, American Constitution was the first constitution to begin with a preamble. Right? So here, once again, these things are important to you. American Constitution consists of a preamble, 7 articles, and 27 amendments. See, from the date 1789, when it came into force, only 27 amendments have been made. So rigid constitution, flexible constitution, all these things we'll read. So before that, let me just read these things. The information which I'll be teaching you is taken from the government of United States of America, the official website. From the official website I have taken. So where you should be reading. I repeat, for any constitution, please go to that country's website. Please go to that country's website. They have given these things in a very simple way, very authentic way. And one is the website of those countries. Second is, recently in 7th edition, Laxmikanth Sir has added the constitutions of America, UK, Switzerland, France, even Japan. So you just have a glance. Just he has made the things pretty simple, just some 2 to 3 pages. So it is worth going through. So I repeat, the sources are the website of their particular countries and Laxmikanth, 2 or 3 pages. That will suffice. And the previous year questions and very, very important current related things with respect to the constitutional aspects. So what was the need of this constitution? What was the need of US Constitution? So the need was because of the Article of Confederation. So before this federal form, federation, there was what is known as confederation. This confederation was a very, very loose association. Very, very loose association. This confederation was the basic one which established a friendship among the colonies. So here, in fact, the term colonies came into being because of these things. What happened exactly is, Britain gave permission to some of the merchants or some of the companies. In that, one of the most prominent was London Company. So this London Company went to North America and made a colony. After that, another company was given permission. This went and this made another colony. Afterwards, it gave permission to another company. So like that, colonies were made in North America. These were previously controlled, completely controlled by the Britain government. Of late, all these came together by forming a confederation. Why did they come together? To fight against the British for their independence. I repeat, all the colonies, to begin with 13 colonies, which were on the west coast, which were on the west coast, sorry, which were on the east coast for us. They came and they formed a federation. But there was some problem. What was that? This power was extremely limited. The power the confederation has was extremely limited. The central government conducted diplomacy and made war, set weights and measures, and was final arbiter of disputes between the states. Very, very important. See here, the confederation was having the power of only these things: diplomacy, war with respect to weights and measures, and final arbitration of the disputes. These are the only subjects. Is the point clear to you? These are the only subjects which were there with the federation, and all other subjects were with the states themselves, means to say here colonies. Crucially, it could not raise the funds. So this federation was not having fundraising capacity and was entirely dependent on states themselves for the money necessary to operate. Right? So, and yet another one was, there was a need of unanimity of the vote. To take any decision, all the 13 colonies or all the members of the confederation has to vote. If even single colony votes the other way, then simply that cannot happen. So that was one of the main reasons. Each state sent a delegation of between 2 to 8 members to the Congress, and they voted as a block, with each state getting one vote. But any decision of consequence required unanimous vote, which led to a government that was paralyzed and inefficient. Because even if one colony voted otherwise, nothing substantial would have happened. Right? So let me explain this. These are the colonies present here. So these were the colonies here, 13, which formed confederation. So because of the lacunae or limitations of this confederation, they thought that we had to form a federation. See here, very, very important, please concentrate. This is the major basis when you compare Indian Constitution and the American Constitution. Here, federal system in America is based on an agreement. Based on agreement, but the federal system in India is not based on agreement, because states themselves were not independent to begin with. Okay, so just look into these things. Article 1 deals with the legislature, Article 2 executive, Article 3 with the judiciary, right? So nearly 40% of the Constitution is over. Is it difficult to remember for you? There are only 7 articles. So 3 articles. What are the 3 articles of American Constitution? The first 3. 1, legislature. 2nd, executive. 3rd, judiciary. Any doubt with respect to this? Will you remember these three? That's it. Okay. Then fourth is states. Legislature, executive, judiciary, states. Then amending procedure. How you will be amending the constitution. Then federal powers, powers of federation. Then ratification, how the constitution should be ratified. So here, the most important thing in American constitution is for federal government, they gave very, very limited powers. Very few powers, like war, like trade and commerce, like weights and measures. And all the residual powers were with the states. Is this point clear to you? So the federal government is having only few powers. All the other powers are with the state. Okay. So legislative branch. Please concentrate here. The things are given like very crisp, pretty clear. A well-educated person can understand these things. I've taken all these things from the government of America, very authenticated. Okay. So legislature of America is said to be Congress, right? What is the legislature of India called as? What is the legislature of India called? Very good. Parliament, not MP or MLA. Very good. So legislature of federation, here we have got parliament. So here Congress is established by Article 1, as you are aware, and Constitution grants Congress the sole authority to enact legislation and declare war. So if when America went on war with respect maybe Vietnam or Iraq or Afghanistan, so who declared war? It is the Congress. Is this clear to you? Most important thing, legislation and declaring the war is the sole authority. No other branch is having this authority. Congress is bicameral. So what is the meaning of bicameral? Meaning of bicameral? Two houses. Very good. Not one house, two houses. Two houses, bicameral. Very good. Great. So here, bicameral, one is called House of Representative and another is known as Senate. So the members are also known as representatives and senators. Clear? So the members are known as senators and representatives. So this is little technical. You have to give attention here because these are new to you. Here, in case of representatives, House of Representatives, you have got 435, easy to remember. 435. So these are elected members. 435 members are there, divided among 50 states. So there are 50 states, proportion to their total population. Is it difficult to remember? So this you can compare to Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha here. So House of Representatives, 435 elected members divided among the 50 states in proportion to their total population. Very, very important. So here too in India, in Lok Sabha, seats are in proportion to the total population. Uttar Pradesh has the highest representation because highest population, right? Then the presiding officer of the chamber is the Speaker of the House. So the presiding officer of the House of Representative is known as the Speaker of the House, is elected by the representatives, right? So these 435 members, they elect one among them as the Speaker. And he is third in line of succession of to the President. So President first, afterwards Vice President, then afterwards it is the Speaker. Order of precedence. Any doubt with respect to this diagram? Please internalize here. I'll repeat. 435 members divided among 50 states in proportion to the total population. The presiding officer is known as Speaker, he is elected by the representative, and is a third in the line of succession. And there are yet another 6 non-voting members. Don't bother about this, not important. Just concentrate on this. This is more than sufficient. Then with respect to members, these are elected for 2 years. Very, very important. In India, they are elected for how many years? Lok Sabha members. For how many years they are elected in India? 5 years. Great. Very good. So in USA, 2 years. Must be 25 years of age. You should be a citizen for at least 7 years. So an Indian who has migrated to America and who has got the citizenship, and if he is having at least 7 years, then he can be the member of House of Representative. And a resident of the state they represent. So here, House of Representative, they are representing some state. So they have to be resident there, but with respect to citizen, he has to be citizen of USA for at least 7 years. Very easy. Next is Senate. This is little different. Please give due attention. Here in Senate, there are 100 members. There are 50 states. So equally divided means each state is having 2 representation. So during the Constitution of American Constitution, there are 2 views. One is to have proportionate representation with respect to population. So another is equal representation. I repeat, there was 2 groups. One group wanted equal representation, another group wanted representation in proportion to population. So here, naturally, small states, they wanted equal representation. Big states, they wanted in proportion to the population. So here, this arrangement was made. So proportion to the population with respect to representative, 435, and with respect to Senate, 10 members. So what is the total number? 535. Right? Are you getting the whole picture? How the legislature of America is formed. Right? Now, you have to keep one thing in mind. Constitution of America has given 2 governments. This is federal government we are speaking of. State government are entirely different. State government. Right? We are now discussing about the legislature. Afterwards, we'll discuss about the executive and judiciary. These are entirely different and independent compared to what is present in state. So here, this is the thing. See here, all the constitution in the world are based on this one. Whenever, like, what is the difference? For any answers, even without referring to any constitution, if you want to write the features of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, you have to take into consideration of these things. This is a classic example of a federal structure, right? So Senate, as I told you, consists of 100 senators, 2 for each state. Here, elected for 6 years. So members of Rajya Sabha, for how many years they are elected? So Senate is Rajya Sabha. So in India, Rajya Sabha, for how many years they are elected? Same here. So 2 years for representatives. Don't get confused. For senators, 6 years. For representatives, elected to 6-year term by the people of each state. Senators' terms are staggered so that about 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election every 2 years. So every 2 years, there will be election. So in the, say, for example, 2022 election has happened here. Next election will be in 2024. Right? So on the same date, you will be having elections for representatives. Means Lok Sabha, means lower house. Their term is 2 years. So their term will be over by this time. 1/3 of the members retired. 1/3 of the members. So for 1/3 of the members, once again here, you will be having elections. Let me make this point clear to you. In case of America, for legislatures, please keep this in mind. Don't bring president. President election is entirely different. Please don't bring that. With respect to legislature, for every 2 years, there will be election. The term of representatives is 2 years. So for every 2 years, there will be election. At the same time, the term of the senators is 6 years. In that, 1/3 of the senators retired for every 2 years. So it's like this. So the term is this one. Let me take another color. So this is, say, for example, 1/3 join here. Another 1/3 here, another 1/3 here. So here, when it comes to this period, these people will get retired. By that, their term will be 6 years. Okay. Senators must be 30 years of age, US citizens for at least 9 years, and residents of the state they represent. So this is in a very simple way I have told you. And what is most confusing and for most of you is the election of president. So that I have made the thing simple. So till now, do you have any doubt? Okay. So some are asking the word staggered. Staggered means arrangement in a series of alternating or continuity, overlapping, intervening times. Mean to say that, say here, let me explain this for those of you. So 1/3 will be appointed, say for example, in 24. So here, let us take here 1/3, 1/3. So here the term is 6 years. For every 2 years, 1/3 will retire. So another 1/3 will be appointed. So the strength remains the same. For next 2 years, these people will retire and another 1/3 will be elected. For another second 2 years, these people will retire and another 1/3 will be elected. See here, the term is 6 years, but 1/3 will be elected for every 2 years. Okay. Then yet another important thing, Vice President of United States serves as the President of the Senate. So here we have got Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha is said to be representatives, and we have got Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is said to be Senate. So Lok Sabha is headed by the Speaker. Here Rajya Sabha is headed by the Chairman of Rajya Sabha. He is also Vice President, Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Here too, the Vice President is heading the Senate, the upper house. He is not called the Speaker, he is said to be the President, and may cast the decisive vote in the event of tie in the Senate. Tie means equality. So in the case of equality of vote, he can vote. Why he is not allowed to vote in the first instance? I repeat, why the Vice President is not allowed to vote in the first instance? Because the Vice President is not the part of the Senate. In case of tie, to break the deadlock, he is given a casting vote. I repeat, with respect to Vice President, the election of Vice President and the President happen in the same way and in the same day. I'll explain that. So Vice President is the presiding officer legally with respect to Senate, and he may cast decisive vote in the event of tie, in the event of equality with respect to passing a bill. Okay. In order to pass the legislation and send to the President for his or her assent, both the House and the Senate must pass the same bill by majority vote. Majority vote means more than 50%. So for any legislation with respect to House of Representatives, here 435 divided by 2 and Senate 100 divided by 2 plus 1 more. So more than 50%. Now I would like to introduce one more concept. Here the power is separate. Separate powers are given to separate. At the same time, this separation of powers is giving rise to checks and balances. Checks and balances. Means one is checking on the other so that no part of the government becomes all powerful or misuses its authority. How is this? Say, for example, here, legislature passes the bill. For this bill to become an act, it has to get the assent of the executive. I'll make this thing clear to you. Legislature passes the bill. Bill is future law, future act. For this to become an act, it should get the assent of the executive. Is the point clear to you? In this way, now for anything to be called an act, it has to get the assent of the executive. But the executive is not forming the bill. Now we have got another branch, which is said to be judiciary. This judiciary reviews. So that is said to be judicial review. What does this judiciary review? Judiciary reviews whether the laws made by the legislature are in conformity with the constitution. Judiciary reviews whether the executive who is executing the things, are these executive acts in conformity with the legislation and also in conformity with the constitution. See the beauty. So there is separation of powers. Is the concept clear to you? Any doubt here? Any confusion? So please explain. Okay. Okay, I'll explain for the others, those who have not understood. Please give due attention. Separation of powers. Separation of powers, each has got separate powers. Legislatures, executive is executing the things, and judiciary. Right? This is lawmaking, this is law execution, this is seeing whether these laws are in conformity with the constitution or not. Now, this separation of powers also give rise to checks and balances. Now, legislature is the body which is making laws. But a bill cannot become a law, bill cannot become an act without the assent of the executive. I repeat, to make a law, a bill has to be passed. But the bill cannot become a law without the assent of the executive, without the assent of the president. Now, don't you think that is the checking on the legislative power of the legislature? Is the point clear to you? Could you make out how the executive is acting as a check? Right? Now, there is another check, judiciary. So what is this judiciary doing? Judiciary is reviewing whether these laws are in conformity with the constitution or not. After the laws are formed, the executive will be executing. So judiciary will be reviewing these executive acts also, whether these executive actions are in conformity with law, in conformity with the constitution. Okay. So in order to pass the legislation and to send to the president, both the House and the Senate, both the houses, must pass the same bill with majority. Majority means 50 plus 1, more than 50%. If the president vetoes the bill, they may override the veto by passing the bill again in each chamber with at least 2/3 of each body voting in favor. Please see the beauty. A bill passed by the legislature can become an act only after assent of president. Assent of president. So you may ask me, like, what if president is not giving the assent? President is not giving the assent means he is not signing. So here in the beginning, bill was passed with majority. Majority means 50 plus 1, more than 50%. When the president is not giving the assent, or when the president vetoes the bill, then it is sent back to the legislature. If legislature once again passes, this time with 2/3 majority, then president has to give the assent. Did you understand the beauty of checks and balances? See how the power is divided, how the power is exercised. The same here in India too. In India too, here, legislature passes the law. It is executed by the executive. Thus, executive can send this back to the legislature. A bill is passed by the legislature with majority, that is 50 plus 1. When if the executive gives the assent, it becomes a bill, it becomes an act. But if he sends it back, once again, legislature, if they send it with 2/3 majority, it becomes an act and president is bound to give this assent. But very important, your executive is not making the law, is not making the law. Okay. With respect to powers of the Congress, Congress is one of the three co-equal, very important term, co-equal branches of the government. Means co-equal means all are equal here. Who are the co-equal? Legislature, executive, and judiciary. These are co-equal. All legislative powers in the government is vested in Congress. Very, very important. No other branch can exercise the law-making power. All legislative powers, law-making powers is vested with the government. The only part of the government that can make new laws or change the existing laws. So the Congress, the legislature is the only one everywhere around the world. It is the only one which can make laws. The only part of the government that can make new laws or change the existing laws. Now, a simple question. Can the executive change the laws? Can executive change the laws? Modify the laws? No, not at all. Not at all. See the beauty here. If power is concentrated in one place, it leads to corruption. It leads to misuse. So what we have done? We have divided that into three parts. One person is just making laws. You have to be like this. You have to be like this. No, and he has only law-making power. Other part is not having the power to make laws. This person is just executing these things, executing the things. The other one is neither making the laws, neither executing, is just seeing whether these are done properly in line with the Constitution. That's it. Hope the concept is clear to you. Here, one more important thing. Executive branch agencies issues regulations, or they also issue rules with the full force of law, but these are only under the authority of laws enacted by the Congress. Is this clear to you? So who gives the power to make regulations? Regulations are those things which are done by the executive but authorized by the law. If the law wants, they can curtail. Say, for example, environment laws. Under this, rules or regulations are done by your executive, but they have to be within the framework of the laws made by the legislature. Why this power is given? Because they cannot go for in detail things. The power of Congress, exercise of legislative authority, is the establishment of an annual budget of the government. Very, very important. This is a key concept where most of the new students won't understand. Part of Congress means part of Parliament in our understanding. Exercise a legislative authority in the establishment of annual budget for the government. So you might have heard of budget session. So what is budget session? In budget session, financial bill is passed. So let's not go in detail. What happens in budget session? In budget session, bills are passed. Who passes the bills? Your legislature. This will be empowering the executive to draw the money. So who is levying the taxes? It is the legislature. Is it clear to you? So what is happening in the budget? So in budget session, your legislature is authorizing the money to the executive. Is it clear to you? What happens in budget session? Okay, once again, for those of you who are new, say for example, your executive is not having any power with respect to taxing. So with taxing, the government gets the money, right? And also spending. Your executive is not having the power to spend the money. Your executive collect the taxes which are levied by the legislature. I repeat. So your executive is the person who will be executing. He will just collect the taxes levied by the legislature. He will spend the money which is granted by the legislature. Is this clear to you? Now, let me ask you a question for your understanding. Say, for example, 100 crores. 100 crores, 100 crore money should be spent on tribal welfare. On tribal welfare. Who decides this? Let me see whether you have understood the concept or not. I repeat, who decides with respect to this concept? 100 crores should be spent on tribal welfare. 100 crores should be spent on tribal welfare. Who decides this? Is the point clear? Very good. Legislature, parliament, or anything. Now answer this question. Who spends this? Who spends 100 crores on tribal welfare? Who spent this money? Executive. Very good. So here don't interrelate the things. In parliamentary form of government, what we have, like there are different things. I don't want to confuse now. I'm taking the things in a very, very systematic way, so that all the people who are new can also understand, right? Okay. So executive branch, this is one of the most interesting, because you're always like see the face of the government. We won't see the Congress, or we won't see the representative. What we see is Trump, Biden, or anyone who is executive, because they are the face of the government. Executive is the face of the government. Government is the face of the state. So is state visible to you? No. Right? Okay. Executive branch. The power of executive branch is vested in the President of United States. He is also the head of the state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So here, who has the power? Please answer this. Who has the power to wage wars? Who has the power to wage wars? Let me see how far you have understood, how far you are attentive. See, you have to give full attention. See here, commander-in-chief is different. And who decide whether we are going to war or not is different. Once the parliament decides, here in this case, once the legislature or once the Congress decides that we'll be going for war, it is the commander-in-chief who takes the charge. Is the point clear to you? Is the point clear to you? Okay. Let me explain this for those of you who are having doubt. See, Congress decides the war. Decides the war. Congress decides the policy. Congress decides the law. These are executed by your president, your executive. Similarly, war is decided by the Congress. But who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces? It is the president. Any doubt with respect to this one? Now, let me ask you the same concept here. Say, for example, India. In India, think that we have decided to go to war. So we want to attack, like now Pakistan is no comparison for us. Think that we want to go like on a war with America. So America. So who decides? Who wages war in India? Who wages war? Is that the Modi government who wages the war? Yes, very good. It is the parliament. But unfortunately, as I told you, in Indian parliament, majority is with the executive. That is the party from which the executive has come. So parliament declares war, but who fights? It is the executive. President is responsible for implementing and enforcing laws written by the Congress. To that end, appoints heads of the federal agencies, including the cabinet. Very, very important. So here, president is the only person. So executive is equal to here president. So here, president gets elected from the people and he implements and enforces the laws. So he cannot do on its own. For this, he appoints. See here, very important. He appoints the heads of the federal agencies, including the cabinet. Say, for example, defense minister. So they are called as defense secretaries, in fact. Defense secretary. So he will pick one. Okay, now Rohit. Rohit is very good friend of mine. I will give defense ministry to him. That's it. Agriculture. Okay, Raghu sir from agriculture background. So I'll give agriculture ministry to him. President determines. Vice president is also the part of executive branch, ready to assume presidency should the need arises. So one of the primary function of vice president is suddenly if the executive dies or anything happens, so he is not in a position to like hold the office, then vice president comes into picture. Cabinet and independent federal agencies are responsible for day-to-day enforcement and administration of federal laws. So day-to-day things are taken care by cabinet and the independent federal agencies. Independent federal agencies like CIA. What is the full form of CIA? Very, very powerful. What is the full form of CIA? Central So is it investigative or intelligence? Okay. So these are federal agencies. Good. So these take care of the things. Okay, great. Then President is responsible for the execution and enforcement of laws created by the Congress. 15 executive departments, each led by an appointed member of the President cabinet. So President, he appoints the cabinet. One member of from each of this cabinet, they will take care of the executive departments and carry out day-to-day administration of the federal government. So I repeat, President is responsible for the execution and enforcement of the laws created by the Congress. 15 executive departments are there, each led by an appointed member of the President's cabinet and carry out day-to-day administration of the federal government. So very important thing, election of the President. Now, this is very, very important. And in fact, many of you may not be aware of how the things happen. Okay. So with respect to the qualification of the president, only 3 qualifications are mentioned in the constitution. One is at least 35 years. He should be natural citizen, not naturalized. Say, for example, I go there, I will get some visa, all these things, I get the citizenship. No, he has to be natural born, means not artificial. Naturally, he should be born in America. Born citizen, not acquired. The other term opposite for this, acquired. A person who has acquired the citizen, he cannot. He should be natural born citizen. Must have lived in United States for at least 14 years. So these are the 3 criteria qualification: 35 years of age, natural born citizen, and should have been living in United States for at least 14 years. Now comes the election. So here, very important, presidential election for every 4 years. It will happen and it is indirect. So how is this happening? So people, they elect members of electoral college. Members of electoral college. These members, they elect the president. So the date is also fixed. First Tuesday of November. So here there have some chances are there that November 1 may be a Tuesday. To overcome that, first Tuesday after the first Monday. So it is always the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November every 4th year. People elect the members of the electoral college. Please internalize this one, very important. After that, other things are pretty simple. Do we have break? You have break, but wait for 5 minutes. The session will be over. I'll wind up the session. Okay. Okay. Please give due attention here. Very important. President is indirectly elected. So why indirectly? He is elected by the electoral college. So people elect the members of the electoral college. Electoral college will elect the president. Then you may ask me, sir, how many members are there in the electoral college? What is the composition? To understand that, we have to go back to Congress. So Congress has one, that is representatives, right? The other is Senate, right? How many members are there in representatives? How many members are there in representatives? Very good. Very attentive students. 435. This is based on proportion to population, right? Then how many members are there in Senate? 100. Membership of electoral college is equal to the same. How many members, say for example, state, Florida. Florida has sent certain numbers to representatives and Florida has sent 2 members because 2 here is common. The same number of members will be elected by Florida state. So here electoral college strength will be 435 plus 100. The same manner. In addition, you have got another 3 District of Columbia. So in total, you have got 538 members. Was that confusing to you, or is the election of president clear to you? 535 plus 3 District of Columbia. For that, we have given 3. Okay, let me just read the same lines given in the website. Okay. Every 4 years, president elections are held. That is indirect form of election. Apportioned by the population of the 50 states, 1 for each member of their congressional delegation. So 1 for each. So electoral college, in that you will be having 1 for each, whether he is from representative or senator, with District of Columbia receiving 3. So these electors then cast vote to the president. These are currently 338 electors in the electoral college. Is this clear to you? Any doubt with respect to these things? Please repeat electoral college. Okay. So last time, please give your attention. Electoral college elects the president who are present in electoral college. In electoral college, the representative of 50 states are present. These representative of 50 states are elected by the people. What is the representation of the states in the electoral college? Same as the representation in Congress. So Congress consists of representatives and the Senate, senators, the same number. Okay. So now Joseph Biden is the 46th president. Vice president primary responsibilities is to be ready at the moment notice to assume the presidency if the president is unable to perform his or her duties. Vice president is elected along with the president by the electoral college. Very, very important. Vice president and president are elected by the electoral college. Each elector casts 1 vote for the president and another vote for the vice president. Kamala Harris. Now, he is the 49th Vice President of the United States. She is the first woman of color to be elected to this position. The duties of Vice President, outside those entrusted in the Constitution, are the discretion of current president. So the president has the discretion. Now Joe Biden has the discretion as to what work he will be assigning to Kamala Harris. Each Vice President approaches the role differently. Some take up specific policy portfolio. They can be given like portfolio like agriculture, say for example, any other thing. The others serve simply as top advisors of the president. last slide, I suppose. Cabinet, the advice body, make up the heads of the 15 departments, which I have explained, appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. So it is just confirming. Senate is just confirming. The members of the cabinet are often president's close confidants. Here, all members of the cabinet take the title secretary, except the head of the Justice Department, who is named Attorney General. So as you are aware, there will be 15 executive departments. All the head of the executive departments are said to be secretary. Say defense secretary means, with respect to Indian parlance, defense ministers. Secretary for external affairs means foreign minister, external affairs ministers, right? Why District of Columbia? District of Columbia is not a state. It is a federal enclave. Federal enclave means the federal government has control over that. Okay, don't go to the exceptions. So now I think already, like someone was asking. Okay. Okay. So seniors are asking some doubts. Okay, great. But we'll take the things step by step. Not only this, all other things I'll include and I'll sum up in next session, the whole Constitution of America in comparison with India. So by that, we'll have a greater clarity, right? Okay. So don't mind, like I'll share all the PPT. As I told you, like I'll be sharing all the PPTs. And not only that, if you have got any doubt, say for example, please listen to me. Number one, how to choose the optional. Number two, how to read the newspaper. So here, no need. In fact, if you are attending the classes regularly, because we will be conducting even current affairs session also. Current affairs session also. And like what all the books to read. Then you may be asking, sir, PPT. Definitely all PPTs will be given. All the PPTs will be uploaded in the app where you cannot download, but you can read. All the PPTs will be available. Without exception, all teachers, I repeat, all teachers will be providing PPT. Not only that, you will be having like good mentorship, all these things. So here, if you have got any doubt, any problem, please note down. All your doubts, everything will be solved, right? So hope you enjoyed the session. So already energy drained. So why you have become so like dull? Please smile for a while. Have some smile. Okay, great. At least few. So don't be serious. Serious रहने से कुछ achieve नहीं होगा. You have to enjoy the process, right? When you are doing something very interesting, आपको serious होके, गुस्सा होके, tiredness, no. Say for example, if you are watching a movie, in the climax, in fact, you will be very happy, you will be very active. Or say for example, India-Pakistan match, in the last, how excited you will be. In the same way, you have to be. So like I'll, for some 2-3 days, I won't take up the questions because I feel all your questions will be answered by the end of 2-3 days. Like now you are asking, sir, MLA, Is it legislature? Is executive? I will explain. That is the reason I have taken the classical example. Now I will give the examples how and what all the things in Indian administration, in Indian polity, in Indian constitution. Right? So hope you have enjoyed the session. Hope the things was interesting to you. The PPT will be provided to you. And also I'll dictate some very short notes also from this year, because some feel that note should be given. So I know that you are all hungry. If I take the class, you may become angry. So I don't want you to be angry. I know you are hungry already. So by saying this, I'll wind up the session. Have a great time. Enjoy your preparation. If you enjoy, nobody can stop you. As I told you, we'll take up how to master the syllabus, what to read, what not to read, how to choose the option. Everything will be taken. Please give some time. We'll come back to you. We'll stand till the last man. Right? Okay. Enjoy your preparation. Until we meet again, keep ready. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this amazing session.
Pleasure is mine, ma'am.